Hello everybody, my name's Jane Kelly and I live in Cumbria. I haven't got a job at the moment, but I'm 56 and I'd like to talk about forced adoption. I have been investigating this matter for a number of months now. From personal experience, my son was abused and when he went forward to the police, social services took his children off him. So I've been looking into the matter ever since, and since social enterprise has come along, and there are many adoption agencies and fostering agencies, it has become more prevalent, forced adoption. And there's literally hundreds of young women on Facebook groups that have had their children and babies forcibly removed by social services. I want to make a plea to all good social workers who understand what's happening and are being told to keep quiet or just toe the line. Now's the time to speak out, because this has just become it's becoming a pandemic really of taking children. The worst case I found out about was a gentleman that my husband met at a train station, and he was coming up to poor areas of the northwest, certain towns, seaside towns that are the worst hit with deprivation and lack of jobs. And he asked for temporary accommodation. He said he was a social worker and he was working in Barrow for a while. So my husband told him about a friend of ours who had a static caravan. He went there and gave a deposit. The gentleman that had the static started talking to him about the work he's done and the work that my husband does in the prison, or did in the prison I should say. And I think that put him off because it was about child abuse and men who had been abused sexually as children, and he never came back. So he did leave his name, and so I started to have a look at this gentleman. There was a picture, so I asked, well, there was one first, another, James, his name, and it wasn't him. So I found another picture and I showed it to the witnesses, and they said, yes, that's him, that's the man. And so this was the gentleman. He had a number of companies. He worked at Sidra medicine, which is a hospital, a huge hospital, a research hospital in Qatar. And he also worked for Caritas, which is a Vatican-run care company. They've just opened, sort of in the last couple of years, a new arm to that, which is adoption agency called Caritas Care, and that's where he worked. So he had two jobs, working for Sidra Medicine and Caritas Care. And he had a number of companies as well, which rings alarm bells, as I've investigated quite a few of these social workers and noticed that that was something that sort of joined them if they were working in agencies and doing things in a different sort of way. So I sent a letter to my MP and I explained what I'd come across and felt that this was a bit strange. Why was an adoption agency working, and he's a social worker at Sidra, and incidentally that's Lord Darcy is the head of that hospital. He's also the head of World Health, and he signs his name on the bottom of your COVID NHS letters, and for people to come forward to test the the vaccines. So it was all a little bit suspicious to me. I'm not saying that he was child trafficking. I've not got the complete evidence, although we now have a private detective looking into this through a third party. So I'm still waiting back for my MP's letter to find out what he was doing in Barrow. He's asked the Chief Executive of Cumbria County Council, and he's also asked the Department of People, which I think is Children's Services, comes under that. I was thinking maybe we could have a meeting with Anne Burns, who is Children's Services Counsellor. I won't go into that very much because that's another story. If you have a look at Barrow and what's happened with Ellie Williams, this is a young lady that was being ignored in Barrow. She was being trafficked by a grooming gang that was working in Barrow, and because she went on Facebook and told of her abuse and said that nobody was listening to her, the police arrested her and put her in prison, and they have refused her bail. They came on the television, on the BBC, and stated that she was giving false allegations. So there's a big campaign now for justice for Ellie, and we know there's a lot of corruption and within that town and the council. Anyway, that's that. I think Maggie Oliver's helping out there, so we have to wait for the court to see what can actually be done about that. I am a Christian, and my faith is very important to me, and children are very important to me as well. And I just it breaks my heart to think that there's thousands of children that are going missing every year out of our care system, and it breaks my heart these young mums that are not given the opportunity to care for their babies and their children. There's no support put in place. They seem to have to jump over a lot of hurdles with social services that are pretty impossible. They also have to put up with the lies, and I know about that because that happened to my family. The lies that are put into family courts so the children can be taken. So it is corrupt, I'm afraid to say. The shalom, which is peace, tranquility, justice, has just gone out of this country, and it just breaks my heart really, because community has been broken up, and that's where children are best nurtured and loved and protected and cared for, and we've lost that. And so these young ladies have nowhere to turn and nowhere to seek help, and they are sitting ducks really for forced adoption. And I just don't think it's very fair really, and I think there's something quite sinister behind these forced adoptions. So thank you for listening to me, and if you've got any information or you want to give me any information, because I am still ongoing, it is Jane Kelly, and you'll find me on Facebook with some children in a circle, stand together for our children. Okay, I'm running out of time. I'm checking the clock, and I'll just say thank you for listening, and I hope this is able to get online. Thank you. Bye-bye.